Today's topic is, if you are good at video games, then you can have those same successful and good results in your real life. We're going to go over what kind of person this video is for, lessons that you can take away from all those hours that you have wasted on the game, how to apply those lessons in real life, some analogies that I have come up with, and finally my advice and actions for you to do after this video. So who is this video for? If you are addicted to video games and you're really good at them, but you don't enjoy real life that much, or you're not able to replicate the same success in real life, this video is meant for you. This is not for the casual player who just plays after work and gets home, hops on the game to unwind. That is an entirely different problem. This video, I'm talking to the sweat, the one who tryhards and takes it seriously. The one who hit the top ranks, who studied the game, and who kept queuing at 2 a.m. telling himself one more. The one who got genuinely provably good at something and then looked up one day and realized that all the other aspects of his life didn't really feel the same way. That was me a couple years ago, and if that is you, I want to give you a perspective you probably have not heard before, which is that if you are really good, you can channel that same energy and those same competitive instincts into real life and become good at whatever you choose there too. A lot of people have probably told you something along this line. This is what my parents used to say it to me, for example. And they weren't entirely wrong, but it was, stop wasting your time, games don't teach you anything, go do something for real. I think that advice is pretty useless for an addicted person the way I was, and presumably how you are if you're watching this. And I do think it is wrong in a sense. I want to give you a perspective that acknowledges that games can teach you some stuff and helps you take whatever you did learn and actually use it in your real life. I do think people should quit gaming, don't get me wrong, that is part of the message of the entire channel. But if we already spent all those hours, literally thousands of hours anyway, we might as well try to get some lesson from them. And by the end of this video, I think that you are going to be able to extract some lesson from all those hours and look at them completely differently. What is this video about? Before I prove any of that stuff, I want to explain exactly what I mean, because the title can be taken the wrong way. When I talk about channeling your competitive instincts from games into real life, this is what I mean. Presumably, you're a young guy and you have a certain set of instincts which are the ones that made you good at games in the first place. The drive to improve, to rank up, the willingness to lose 100 times to get better, the satisfaction of watching a number go up because you got sharper and improved your skills. Those instincts are very strong and hardwired into us as young men, and right now they happen to be pointed at the game on your screen. Channeling them just means aiming those exact same instincts at things that will pay you back and have dividends in real life instead of on the game. That's the whole idea here. Same instincts, different destination. Keep that idea in your head because the rest of this video is going to build on that. So who am I to talk about this? What do I know? Well, 4 to 5 years ago, I was insane on Brawl Stars, this game. I was easily top 1% of the player base. I was getting characters to the highest possible trophy rank, and I was high in the league rank. And I was even matching up oftentimes against professional players, and fairly often actually beating them. So I was also chronically online at this time. I would spend tons of hours on Discord calls with my team, because we did take it seriously like that. I was watching tons of YouTube on how to improve myself in that game and the strategy and who to pick and everything. And I was actually studying a lot. A lot more time went into it than just the playing. So in a weird way, at a point very early on in my life, I was about 15, 16 when I was peaking at this game. I was incredibly disciplined and very hardworking at something. It just happened to be a video game that didn't really have any future for me in the rest of my life. I want to go back to the thing that I heard so many times, and you've probably heard this line from someone in your life who's anti-video games. It is something like this: they teach you nothing, they're a total waste of time. And in my opinion on this line is from the usual advice, because I actually disagree with it. I don't think games taught me nothing. I think that is a lazy thinking from people who never were any good at them. Getting to the top of a competitive game is not just luck. It's not something that just happens while you sit there. It demands real things like patience and an actual work ethic. The kind of stuff people pay for courses and read self-help books trying to develop for use in other areas of their life. There is actually effort involved here, because to climb up the ladder in that competitive game format, you have to practice your mechanics over and over until it's automatic. You have to sit through and endure losing streaks without rage quitting. You have to study what the pros do, what the better players are doing differently than you and why you're losing. Identify your own weaknesses instead of blaming it on your teammates, because we've all been there. And after a bad night, even a bad week, a bad month, keep showing up and improving. Does that sound like learning nothing? Because to me, that sounds like a description of what it takes to succeed in pretty much any endeavor in life. I did learn lessons from this, and I want to turn that into a principle, and this is also what I want you to understand. The problem was not that games taught me nothing. Video games, kind of like sports, another thing in my background, taught me a lot of stuff. They taught me patience and gave me the ability to practice and be very focused, persisting even through all the plateaus that I hit. How to lose and not be affected and go at it again. How to break a huge macro skill into tiny pieces and grind each one. All of these are useful for real life, and a lot of people never develop them at all. The problem was I was applying the lessons to the wrong thing. The patience, the grind, the deliberate practice, none of that was wasted as a skill. I learned a lot of lessons and built a lot of mental fortitude through all those hours and through all those losing streaks. The unfortunate thing is I could have been working on something else for all those hours instead that I spent on the game. And that's what I regret here, because I want to talk about what I regret. I want to be precise about this because most people say this wrong. I don't regret gaming as a whole, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I wish I had never picked up the controller in the first place. That is not something I can change. It was a significant part of my life. What I regret is becoming world-class at something that does not benefit me any longer. Totally absent from my life. That is the issue. So that I became, quite frankly, amazing at this game, easily, like I said, in the top 1% of the player base, at a thing that gives me virtually nothing back now that I'm older and I have moved on to other things in life. There's no benefit from it anymore. I spent so many hours on that, so it's very disappointing in that way. I want you to switch your focus, and I do want to talk more about all those hours because this is the part that stings the most for me, probably will for you too. Whatever your number is, 1,000, 3,000, 10,000, I would imagine I spent at least 3,000 to 4,000 hours in my case, if not even more, with all the other games and stuff. Imagine that you had aimed that exact same grind with the same intensity at something else, such as a language. You would be completely fluent by now to go to another country and speak like a local. If you put it into the gym, you wouldn't still be trying to get in shape. You would be totally jacked and in amazing shape. A business, you wouldn't be hoping to figure it out. You would be well on your way to figuring it out, and you would probably have some money coming in through a good business, a real leverage, something that actually pays your rent. An instrument or some other kind of trade, some kind of craft, anything really that takes a skill curve, you would be easily in the top 1% of the population. You'd be really good at it. Same hours, same level of intensity, same level of focus. The only variable that changed is what you were spending that time doing. And that is pretty motivating for me. And I don't say this to make you feel bad about all the hours you wasted. It doesn't really make me feel bad. It's because it's a really motivating thing, thinking like that. Like, whoa, I could take any application in real life, and if I devoted that same amount of effort and energy, I could become world class, just like I was on that game back in the day. All of that effort and that focus does work, and I already proved it to myself through my gaming career, and you can do the same. I have the receipts. I could probably go look on my old Discord account and find all the screenshots, all those celebrations, all the ranking up, the tournaments. I just have to apply that same effort somewhere that pays me back. Applying the discipline correctly, that is the most important thing that I want you to take from this video. Everybody keeps telling you the same thing, like your parents and the motivational videos on YouTube. You just need to be more disciplined. I want to tell you something a bit different. I think if this is you and you have all of the success and you're at the top 1% of a game, that does prove that you already have some discipline. If you're using that to keep leveling up on the game, then that's the problem, and that's being applied to the wrong place. Yes, you can commit to something. Think about what you've already done. You have grinded thousands of hours at a single pursuit. You pushed through the losing streaks that would make most people uninstall. You studied and you deliberately practiced and you kept climbing that ranked ladder specifically designed to frustrate you, and you still didn't quit. If you overcame all that stuff and you're at the top levels of the player base in a game, that is a certain level of discipline. A lot of people will go their entire lives without ever demonstrating that level of commitment to anything. You already have proven you have it. The proof is right there on your account. It's not laziness, it's misapplication. This is why the just be more disciplined videos are not the best in my opinion and not going to work for you. You cannot build something that you already have. That advice assumes that you're starting from zero discipline, that you're completely lazy, weak, or empty. And I don't think you are. You're not undisciplined necessarily. You're just applying the discipline to the wrong thing, which is a totally different problem. Lazy is a character flaw you have to fix. Misapplication is just an error that you have to correct. One is about you as a person, and the other is about your potential for more. You don't need to become a disciplined person if you already have exhibited this discipline in some sense. You need to take what you have, certainly work to improve it, sure, but take what you already are and point him in the direction that you want to go in real life. One objection that you are probably thinking, real life is way harder than a game. You've probably thought that as I was talking this whole time, and I have been there. Okay, real life is way harder than game. That's the whole reason that I'm on the game in the first place. It's pretty easy, pretty chill. And I don't want to argue with that. It is harder in many ways, but I do think it's different because the game progression, something so visual like that, is always going to be more visible. It's not harder because you're any weaker in real life. It's harder because real life does not have the same dopamine and reward systems that the games are designed with. Think about what a game gives you that real life does not. You have immediate feedback, you do something well, you rank up, and the game immediately tells you the level goes up, the ability lands, the enemy dies, no delay. You have a visible score, and you always know your rank compared to everybody else. You know if you're winning, and you know you're good. Clear progression like an XP bar, a level, a rank, whatever. And finally, a tight reward loop. Effort and reward are very close together. The reward immediately follows, sometimes just by seconds. Now, compare, or a better word would be contrast that to real life, which is often less visible. Real life gives you none of that stuff. You go to the gym and the mirror looks virtually the same the next day. You study a language for a month and you're still totally lost. At least that's the case for me. You start a business and you get silence for what feels like forever. There's not a visible rank, there's no XP bar, no scoreboard telling you you're getting closer. So obviously it's gonna feel harder. It's not that you lack the ability to grind something because you've proven already that you can do that. Remember, it is that real life ripped out all the feedback systems that made the grind feel like it was worth it, that the game had. That's not a you problem, that's a design problem. And design problems can be solved, which is exactly what the next section of the video is about. One analogy I have is think of it like ranked matchmaking. Every competitive game that you've played has this, the ranked matchmaking, and it is a pretty genius piece of design when you think about it. The matchmaking will find people roughly at your level and it'll put you up against them. So statistically, you should win half your games and lose half if you're against people your skill level. It's also designed so that when you improve, you win just enough to see that you're climbing and lets the players always climb a little bit toward the next rank. That balance and that design is a huge part of why you couldn't stop queuing up. The game was engineering and designing the motivation for you. You didn't have to get it internally. Another thing that real life lacks is this matchmaking analogy. When you go to the gym for the first time, life does not pair you up against other beginners. It throws you into a lobby full of people who have been lifting for 10 years. You're totally outmatched in that environment. It would be like if you just installed a game and you were on bronze rank and the lobby just queued you up against diamond players immediately. Yeah, of course, a lot of people would be uninstalling. When you start a business, you're not matched against other first timers. You are up against people with a decade head start on you, way more experience. So of course, in the business sense, you're gonna get cooked a little bit. There's no system pairing you against equals. There's no bar showing your progress. There's no rank or indicator visually. There's no XP bar showing that you're climbing. So you feel hard stuck immediately. And unlike in the game, nothing tells you that being hard stuck at the start is a completely normal thing in life. This is the method that I want you to use. Not really to get around this element of being hard stuck, because that is part of real life, but to give yourself more of the motivation the video games give you. You have to make, going off of the metaphor, you have to make your own matchmaking. You have to pick a reasonable lobby, not to get totally shredded and in elite shape in 6 months, but add 5 pounds to the bar every week, gradual progressive overload, learn about principles like that, small enough that you win often, but hard enough that it makes you improve. That is setting your own matchmaking in that sense to a reasonable, to an achievable level. Build your own scoreboard, track the number, get an app to track all your workouts or the words learned or how much revenue you're making or whatever activity you're choosing to pursue. Real life will not give you an XP bar. You have to metaphorically make one for yourself. Celebrate ranking up. In a game, you feel the promotion. It's very visual. It's right there. It'll always have an animation letting you know. In real life, you have to consciously notice it, and you have to be present in that moment and notice the improvement, because no notification is going to pop up to tell you. When you catch yourself improving, actually notice the feeling the way the game showed it to you. You already know how to climb the ladder. You've done it 100 times. Real life just doesn't give you that ladder. My advice here, as usual, I like to keep it stupidly simple, because you do not need a complicated system to do this. You just need a few things. Number one, pick something with a skill curve, not a random thing, something you can get good at, that you want to do, maybe that you've always wanted to do for a while, and that will actually help you out in life, preferably. The gym, a language, a business, instrument, whatever, just some skill that has depth and that isn't too easy and just can be mastered in a month, because depth is what makes it interesting, like the game was. Something boring will not keep you playing for that long. The climbable ladder, as we know, definitely will. Number two, cold quit if you can, but if not, start transferring the hours. Personally, whenever I tried to uninstall cold, which was many times, it never really worked, and I always hopped back on. I always got the next Discord notification. I had to gradually quit and just cut down the amount of hours and gradually quit the addiction. Maybe you can quit cold. If so, I recommend doing that. But if not, just start reallocating the amount of hours you spend. Start moving 1 hour a day out of your grind, out of the game and into your new grind. Then two, let the new thing slowly earn the time the same way that it earned your time on the game. Number three, expect to be bad and or hard stuck. You're gonna be trash the new thing at first, the same way you were trash when you first installed whatever you're currently playing. I think it's easy to forget about that, and now we roast everybody else for being trash, but we were those guys once upon a time. We were noobs, and we did not start at the top rank. We started at the bottom, and probably sucked, and you lost a lot of times, but you stuck with it for whatever reason, and you kept climbing anyway. The same rules apply here, but being bad at the start is not a sign to stop. It is a normal thing. It is just the placement grind, and we do not have the ranked matchmaking, unfortunately. But the light at the end of the tunnel is that the effort will pay off. And I want to draw one more comparison to help you see this light, because you have to remember that the results will come eventually. And to illustrate this, I remember the first time that I ever got one of my Brawl Stars characters to rank 35, which is the highest rank in that game. All of the highs and lows of the journey, it took me so long. I had like way too many nights staying up until 3 a.m. to get that. And I remember when I was like overjoyed when I got it. It took me so long. That had been my goal for months. And that feeling when you finally hit that one rank or the one play that you've been striving for weeks or months on the game, literally, it took me so long. That feeling was one of the best feelings I've ever had. And eventually, you will get that exact feeling from the thing which you've applied so many hours to in real life. It is the same result when you get really good and you can prove to yourself that. The same sense of dopamine, the same pride and accomplishment, except this time you get to keep it, since in real life you don't have to log off. If it is a skill more like what I've been describing, it will stay with you for your whole life and it will benefit you tangibly much more. And that's what I want for you. And that is what is on the other side of applying your competitive instincts to another skill. Final analogy, I'm going to leave you with this one idea, and it's one you already understand better than most people will, because the games and the losing streaks that you have no doubt experienced have already taught it to you. And that is, losing is part of the progression. You've never met a single person who climbed the rank ladder by winning every game. That's not how it works, and it's not how it's ever worked. You climb by losing and reviewing what went wrong, adjusting, and then queuing back up. You already know this in your bones, and you have experienced this for thousands of hours. Real life is the exact same ladder. The only difference is there's no visible rank, so the losses feel worse than how you should actually treat them, which is just losing a game on the ladder mid-push and you just queue again. It was not that big of a deal. Don't make it too big of a deal in real life. In this sense, you just started your account. You haven't queued very many games yet, so take the same guy who refused to quit that game for whatever reason, despite the losing streaks, the patient one, the persistent one, the one who kept showing up, and put him in charge of your real life and the real skill that you want to learn. He already knows how to win, and he can easily apply it to real life instead. Start allocating as many hours as possible from that game into the real life skill and apply this. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.